Imagine you are standing on one of the strongest city walls in the ancient world. In front of you, there are no massive siege machines, no ladders rising toward the sky, no battle cries echoing across the battlefield. Instead, there is a scene so unsettling that it chills you to the core. Tens of thousands of people, walking in complete silence. Not a word, not a shout, only the steady rhythm of footsteps and the haunting sound of ram's horn trumpets cutting through the heavy desert air. Day after day, they simply circle the city. No attack, no action. And that silence begins to consume your mind. In the history of warfare, this may be the most illogical strategy ever recorded. But for Jericho, it was a death sentence. Welcome to Bible Reborn. Today, we uncover one of the most astonishing events in Scripture, where an unbreakable fortress collapsed, not by swords or weapons, but by sound and absolute obedience. Around 1400 BC, Jericho was not just a city. It was a strategic stronghold, guarding the entrance to the Promised Land. Modern archaeological discoveries have revealed something remarkable. Jericho was protected by an advanced double-wall defense system. The first layer was a steep stone retaining wall, nearly 5 meters high. On top of it stood a massive mud brick wall, about 2 meters thick and rising another 8 meters. And that was not all. At the top of the hill stood yet another wall, a layered defense, nearly impossible to breach. For Joshua and the Israelites, who had just spent 40 years wandering in the wilderness, without siege equipment, without advanced weapons, capturing Jericho was mathematically and militarily impossible. But here is the key. The strategy did not come from man. On the night before the battle, Joshua encountered a mysterious figure, a warrior, and standing with a drawn sword, surrounded by a presence unlike anything earthly. Joshua asked, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" And the answer changed everything. "Neither. I have now come as the commander of the army of the Lord." In that moment, the battle was no longer between men. It became a divine operation. And the strategy given defied every rule of warfare. 7 priests, carrying 7 ram's horns, walking ahead of the Ark of the Covenant, the entire army following behind. And one command, absolute silence. Now pause and think about this. For 6 days, the people of Jericho stood on their walls, watching this strange ritual unfold. No attack, no threats, only silence. And that silence became a weapon more terrifying than any army. It did not break the walls physically. It shattered the enemy's mind. It created confusion, fear, and psychological collapse. Then came the 7th day, as something felt different. It was no longer 1 circle, but 7. The pace intensified. The tension reached its peak. And when the long blast of the trumpet sounded, Joshua gave the command, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." A single cry, not from one voice, but from tens of thousands at once. A sound powerful enough to shake the earth itself. And then, the impossible happened. The mighty walls began to tremble. Cracks spread through the structure, and suddenly, they collapsed. But here is what stunned modern archaeologists. When Dr. Kathleen Kenyon excavated Jericho in the 1950s, she discovered that the walls did not fall inward, as expected in a typical siege. They fell outward, forming a natural ramp over the stone foundation. What does that mean? It means the Israelites did not need to break in. They could go straight up and enter. The Bible records, the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him. And archaeology confirmed it. Faith and science met at the same point in history. Jericho was completely destroyed, reduced to ashes. But in the midst of the ruins, something extraordinary remained. A section of the wall, still standing, and on it, a scarlet cord hanging from a window. That was the house of Rahab, a woman who was not part of Israel, a prostitute, rejected by society. But she chose to believe, to trust in the God of Israel, and that faith saved her entire family. In a city that was utterly destroyed, she was preserved. This reveals something profound. Salvation is not determined by your past, but by your choice. The fall of Jericho is not just a story about war. It is a message. The strongest walls in our lives are not made of stone, but of pride, fear, and the limits we place on ourselves. And the most powerful weapon is not physical strength, but obedience and faith. And there are moments in life when we face our own Jerichos, problems that seem impossible, barriers that cannot be broken, and we try to fight, to control, to figure everything out. But sometimes, what we are called to do is not to fight, but to walk in faith, to trust that something greater is at work, even when we cannot see it, to trust that silence is not emptiness, and to believe that when the time comes, the walls will fall. So what about you? What walls are standing in your life right now, making you feel powerless? What fears? What pressures? What situations make you think this is impossible?
Please save them, oh God. Please save everyone
Could
from
it
this
be
destruction.
that what you need is not more strength, but more faith? Share your thoughts below. And if you want to continue exploring the greatest stories ever told, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This is Bible Reborn, and we will meet again in the next chapter of Sacred History.